Hello everyone, Auvbri here and welcome back to another speed build in The Sims 4. We are back here in Windenburg and today we are building part 1 of the Waterfall house. Now you can already tell if you follow me on Twitter that this house is huge. So I posted on Twitter a little teaser a couple of days ago and it took me just 2 hours just to do the shell and terrain editing of this build. And then when I started to actually build the waterfalls and all those features, it just turned into a huge build. So I couldn't fit everything in to this build, so I didn't do the interiors because I wanted to take a good time on it, so it actually turned out amazing like I wanted. But before we get really into the build, I just want to ask you guys, if you haven't already subscribed, why not do so and give this video a like as well. I'm trying to reach 100,000 subscribers before the end of the year, and the only way I can do that is with your help. So help me out, go subscribe, like and share this video, comment down below as well. So now this is the underwater house, and as you saw in the intro video, I think it looks so good. I mean, it's very idyllic, like it's peaceful looking, it's modern, just how I like it, and it's just, I had so much fun building this build. It's one of those builds, so for those of you who've been with me for a while, it's one of those builds that I have had in my house build folder for ever, but I couldn't actually do it because we didn't have terrain tools. And I recently started going through those builds again and actually see if I still wanted to build them, and this one just spoke to me, so of course I just had to build it because I fell in love with it that time, and I still love it now. I just think it's such a cool build. So the whole premise of this build is that the build itself is kind of located on this hilltop, but it's a very small hilltop, so there's a lot of waterfalls around it, lots of nature, lots of stone and stuff like that, and the build is located on this small hilltop. It is kind of anchored into the ground by a lot of stone foundation pieces as well, which I'm also going to be doing, but I just wanted to get the build down exactly like it was. So of course this is The Sims 4, and there are certain limitations when you try to build a build from real life in the game, and I feel like that's just the case with a lot of these type of building games. I mean, not just The Sims 4, but in general building games. It is very hard to actually do houses from real life in the game, but I really tried and I think it's really close. I took some creative liberties because there's just some things I cannot do in the game, like split leveling is not possible. I mean, you can cheat the game sometimes, and I know a lot of other SimTubers have made videos on this, but in my case, because I'm working with so many terrain layers and heights, it's just not possible for me to actually do the split leveling that I wanted to do. So hopefully, fingers crossed, they will bring that back in the future, or at least in the next game. So what I actually had to do here to make the build actually rest on the foundation, I had to cheat the game, and you saw this in the beginning as well. So I have to have these decks that kind of float out into the air, these huge deck areas. There's 3 main decks, so we have the 2 in the front here and a huge one in the back as well. I had to have those, and with the new foundation tools you're not actually able to do that unless you cheat the game. You have to create rooms that's underneath the terrain, then make the deck, the floating deck that you want, by grabbing one of those foundation flooring pieces, then you're gonna have to like delete the room underneath that and then start building on top of that. So actually most of the house that you're actually seeing isn't touching the terrain. It's actually floating on top of the terrain, but I have tested it with my sim, and you could also maybe, I don't remember if it's in the intro video tour or in the end, but Sims can still use this. They can walk everywhere. I tested it out, so it is fully walkable. They can also go down into the what we will call the basement level of the house, which is just the ground floor where we actually have the foundation tools, as you can see here. And that's why I wanted to have the foundation tools in the bottom, because I needed the house to be anchored to something, so it just wasn't floating in the air. And doing it this way I felt like was the most reasonable and design aspect the most like I totally lost the word. Like the best thing to do to make it look realistic as possible. So we put in the stonework now. Now this is where I had to take a few liberties with the build. So in the picture that I had, they used a lot of red wood tones with this stonework that we don't have in the game. We don't have, I mean, we have something that kind of resembles it, but we don't. You know, it's kind of like all of these flint stones. I'm not sure if that's actually what it's called in English, but it's kind of like all of these flat stones layered on top of each other to create the illusion that it's like brickwork or something. We don't have that really in the game. We have something very similar and close to it, but I just didn't like how that looked. So I decided to go with a more nature-like stone and really try to tie in the modern aspect with it, with this more neutral grayish color, which I think looks really good. And once we actually start putting in windows, it's just gonna look amazing. So this is actually the front entrance of the build that I'm working on now. We have the big staircase going up to the front door, which is going to be yeah, again, I didn't actually do any interior in this build. I didn't really like play around with the decks, decorate the floating decks at all. I didn't do any of that. I mainly focused on the exterior and the landscaping in this build because it took like all day. Okay, so here's the deal. I'm at school now, as most of you know, and I'm soon to be done with school, but that means that I have tons of homework. We have exam preparations, all that good stuff that you just have to do while you're in school, and I'm totally fine by that. So I try to use my weekend spare time, because I also have a lot of stuff going on in real life, in my free time, in the what is it called, like every day, so not in the weekends. And I try to use my weekend time to actually build, produce let's play videos and all that stuff, so I don't have to worry about that while I'm in school. So this build actually took a lot longer than I anticipated it to, so that's why I had to actually do it make it into a two-parter build, because it was just a huge build. I did not honestly expect it to take this long, but I think it's about 6 hours just for the exterior here. About 6.5 hours of footage of me just doing all the stuff here. So what I'm doing, sorry, I just had to take a sip of water. What I'm doing now is I'm starting to create the lakes and the waterfalls that we will actually use. And you saw this in the intro video as well. I think this looks so cool. So because we have the terrain tool now, we can create these I wouldn't say natural, but a bit more natural looking waterfall kind of like things going on, and make it look a bit more realistic, which I really tried to do with this one. So we're gonna use a lot of fountain tools and tools in general to help us create the illusion that this is a waterfall. So I'm just trying to get the general layout of where I want things to go, because we also need to have you know, a pathway leading up to the front entrance. So that's what I'm creating here, kind of like a little pathway for a car to go at. So we have like the car parking area in the front, and then I just started manipulating the terrain to actually make it look more realistic. So it wasn't too flat, but I wanted it to be like bumpy and really fit in with the surrounding area. So if you look around your, like at this lot where it's placed, it's in Windenburg. There's a lot of hills and like stonework and stuff like that, and I wanted to carry that over into this lot, so it really looked like it was part of the whole place. Which I think turned out so good. I decided to honestly to actually not put any windows at the part of the build where we had the stonework, because I didn't want that to be interrupted by windows. The only windows that I actually put in, we have a doorway here, but are these kind of big stone-ish windows. I thought those looked really well on the side of the build, but that's just because this big box where I put them didn't have a lot of windows, so I needed some sort of natural light to be able to come through there. But that's the only windows that you're gonna find on the stonework. Otherwise it's totally uninterrupted. And now we're gonna do all the tedious work, but you guys seem to really like to see this and watch this, so you're gonna get it. We have all of these half walls, which I used to create the illusion that the wall heights, not the wall heights, the roofing heights are different, and also just to create something interesting for the eye to look at when you're actually watching the build from afar. But we had all of these places where there was just like empty space, so I decided to fill those up with these displays. You can turn these totally black, they can stack next to each other with the art actually clipping through in the animation. So it's a really good display to use if you're doing stuff like this. So that's just what we're gonna do throughout the whole build. And once I've done that, I started to put in the lights at night. I didn't show this in the video tour, but this house looks gorgeous at night. I changed the lighting, so it's not this harsh looking light that you see now. We have all of these balconies, deck areas, whatever you want to call them. They are lit up by this fencing that we got from Get Famous, which is just amazing, and I wanted to light up the whole house so at night you could see it from afar. Also just because the landscaping is so wild here, like wild in quotations. It is very wild for such a modern build to be placed in the middle of it, but I loved that idea that you were able to see the house lit up at night by all of these beautiful lights, because I think it is a very beautiful build. And once we actually start in part 2 to do the interior and maybe do a bit more of decorations on the house itself, you know, like put in some wall crawling plants and ivy and stuff like that, I think it's going to turn out to be awesome. So again, follow me on Twitter, there's a link in the description down below. I post like all the time. I post teasers of what I'm currently working on, and and general stuff like that, so you can always keep up to date with what I'm doing. And also like general schedules, or like, for example, I just asked you guys on Twitter as well as the channel here if you wanted to see a new Let's Play. That's just stuff I do on Twitter, so definitely go follow me there. And I posted a teaser of this build before I actually started doing the landscaping, and you guys really seem to like it, so yeah. But I just started doing the landscaping here. I know some of you, I'm looking at you, Brunetti, if you're watching this. But yeah, I had to have the grid on for most of this stuff, because placing stuff on the terrain when you've actually like done what I have done and manipulated so it's like a slope is horrendous. Like, it's the worst thing ever, and it's not ideal. So you have to, like, for example, the rocks that I'm using here, most of them seem to actually be floating in the air, so you have to do some things to actually make it look like it's not floating. And the way that I do that is put in all of these foundation tools, not foundation, what is it called, foundation, no, not foundation, pool tools, and you know, all these sprinklers and stuff to create the illusion that this waterfall is actually working and it's looking good and stuff. So first off, the sprinklers go in, and then we put in plants to create the illusion, and you can kind of fill out the spaces so it doesn't look like things are floating in the air, you know. And that's generally what I did with all the waterfalls in this build. And it took a really long time, because you have to, I mean, yeah, if you watched my Asian mountain recreation that we did on a stream that's also up on the channel as a speed build, we spent so much time manipulating the terrain and actually decorating around the terrain, because the terrain is, I mean, as much as I love that they added it into the game, it is very unforgiving, and it's not all the way there. Like, it still needs a lot of work, but I love that they added it, and we can do all of this stuff like the build that I'm doing now. I wouldn't be able to do that before, so there's a lot of builds that I can do now that I couldn't before, which I love. So you're gonna see a lot more of really weird looking and crazy builds from me, because I have a whole folder of house builds I want to do but couldn't because there was no terrain. So it's builds like this that you're gonna see from me in the future, as well as other stuff. Okay, I can just give you guys a little teaser while we're watching me do this tedious work, because basically I'm just doing the same thing all over to try and make the terrain look natural. But a little teaser for you guys is that I'm currently working on a Greek styled, what can we call it, like temple. So I've been playing a lot of Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and they have these amazing temples for Athena and Zeus and Apollo and all of these Greek gods, and I really want to create a temple from that game and put it into The Sims, because I think it's just amazing what they've done with that game, and I'm in love with it. So that's just a little teaser for you guys of what I'm currently working on besides this one. And yeah, also another little teaser for you guys, I'm also working on something with Simproved. We haven't started yet, but it will come very soon in the future, hopefully. And it should be really good. It's a challenge build created by the amazing Squid Queen Frankie Valerie, so that should be really fun as well. And I have a lot of stuff planned. It's gonna be a really good year, you guys, and we have a lot of amazing builds planned for the future, and it's only we're not even done with January yet. I think, yeah, this build is going to be uploaded before February, so this is a pre-recorded video. As I said, I'm doing my recordings in the weekend so I can focus on school in the other days. So like Saturday and Sunday is recording YouTube stuff, and the other days is just homework and gym and everything else. So pre-recorded, but this is going to go up before February actually starts, and we have already done 10 builds. Last year we did, like, I believe it was 38 builds throughout the whole year, so we're off to a very good start, and I'm very confident that we're gonna reach 100,000 subscribers before the end of the year. So this build, before people ask, it's not actually on the gallery yet. I'm gonna upload it to the gallery once I have done the interior and actually furnished everything. But I'm not done with the build, so I just have it saved to my own library. But once I'm done, I promise you guys, it will be uploaded to the gallery, so you can get it. And there will, of course, in part 2 of this video, be a download link, so you can also get it there. But it's not on the gallery as of now, but it will be, promise. So we are almost done with the decorations of outside, and as you have maybe already noticed, I'm trying to make this look like it is a manicured wilderness. So we have this, like, for example here, this nice trail leading up to the build, looking very nice and manicured. We're gonna put in some lights as well to make it look really nice. But around all the waterfall places and the little hillside that I'm placing trees into now, I wanted it to look a bit more wild and unmanicured, so it's like not too perfect looking, which I think just fits. It's like this nice mixture between modern manicured builds and wild, untamed wilderness, and I just love that. And especially in this lot, this lot is the perfect place for a build like this. I mean, it doesn't make sense that I actually placed a trail for a car to lead up to the house, because how would cars go here? But it's just, it looked nice, and it also means that you can place this lot in any other place that you want to. So working on the last waterfall here, I wanted this to look really good as well, because it's the waterfall behind the house. And yeah, we're gonna jump into the video tour very soon. But I'm using this little trick that I learned from Simproved, and I think she learned it from Simaki, to create waterfalls. So we have this running water going through these pieces, and you just scale that down and it still keeps the water the same size. So that's really cool. Putting in some sprinklers and generally try to make it look really cool and nice. Lots of plants, and we're gonna jump in to the video tour in just a little bit. But tell me down below, once we actually jump into the video tour, tell me down below, how do you like the builds? Because I'm in love with it, and I know I say this about all my builds, but every single time I build a new build, I'm just in love with how it looks and how it turns out. So I'm really proud of this one. I know it's not even done yet, but it's just yeah, I think it looks really good. Tell me down below in the comment section what you thought about the build as we take a look. I mean, and the waterfalls look so good as well. Everything is just idyllic and really pretty. The untamed nature with the modern feel, and I loved this shot. I was just goofing around, but I loved this shot. I was just following the waterfall trail down to the big lake that was at the bottom of the the builds behind. So again, this build is not on the gallery right now, but it will be as soon as part 1 goes live on the channel. So be sure to check that out. Once it actually goes live, you can download this build, and I hope to see you for part 2 of this build, because I think the interior is going to be super awesome as well. And yeah, remember to like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so, and help me reach 100,000 subscribers before the end of the year. It is the goal and it's my dream, so I really hope we can do it. And there's nothing else for me to say other than have a truly fantastic day wherever you are in the world, and I will see you next time for another video. Bye!